Alright people, this is another round of With Just 15 Defeats by Teekosey Boxing. Today we're going to be talking about the heavyweight career of David Haye. David Haye seems to be everywhere trying to promote his fight, so I guess we're going to perpetuate that problem by talking about it further. But if you want the preview of the fight, go onto the channel and check out the preview video. Today we're just going to be talking about his heavyweight career to date and the fights that he's had. Now obviously he had a stellar career as a cruiserweight and he hit the summit of that division and then he moved into the heavyweight division. But I thought we'd just discuss what he's done so far before his return against Mark Dumori next Saturday. So David Haye has had 7 heavyweight fights. It started with a match-up against Thomas Bonin. Now this was before his 2 biggest cruiserweight fights against John Mark Mormay and Enzo Maccarinelli. Now he obviously decided that he was going to be moving up, so he had this warm-up against Thomas Bonin, who at the time only had 1 defeat. He had 37 wins, 1 defeat. Admittedly, that only defeat came to Audley Harrison. His wins, he didn't really have anyone notable on the record, so it's a very, very padded record. But he looked game in the fight. But despite that, David managed to get 4 knockdowns before the referee stopped it. And even with the 4th knockdown, Thomas still managed to get up and was kind of saying, let's keep going, but the referee sacrificed him and said, look, no chance. So then David Haye went in and he had his 2 notable cruiserweight fights, good fight against John Mark Mormay, and then an absolute assault against the poor Enzo. Yeah, he looked a lot smaller than David. Obviously David looked a massive cruiserweight, and we know Enzo was an incredibly small cruiserweight, but the size difference was crazy. And the stoppage was just savage. Absolutely savage. So, if you haven't seen that, which I'm sure you have, but if you haven't, go and check that knockout, because it's a classic knockout. Then he moved back onto the heavyweight scene, and his first real heavyweight test was against an American, Monty Borough, who came to the fight with a 34-6 record. Now, Monty, he didn't have many great victories in his career, but he had been tested. He'd fought Klitschko, Valuev. Admittedly, he'd lost those, but he had that experience. So, I guess Haye was looking at it. This guy's going to be a good opponent. It's going to be a good test, and if I can take him out in great fashion, it's going to put me in good stead for my future. So actually the fight was quite an interesting, fun fight. I don't know if you've seen it, check it out. Monty Borough runs into the ring and he stacks it over the top rope. It's not the greatest start for him. But anyway, the fight really should have been over in 3. Haye had him down and he should have been able to finish him, but got saved by the bell. 2 more drops in the 4th, and then in the 5th, the fight was stopped. Haye showed fantastic movement in this fight and really showed that he was up for battle with the bigger boys, really. So that was good. And then we move on to his 3rd fight at the heavyweight division, which was in a world title fight. Now, some said it was a bit of a surprise that he was getting a shot this early in the division, but I suppose he had only recently won and unified the cruiserweight division. So he had caliber and he got this fight, but he got it against Nikolai Valuev, who was the giant. He was incredible. The size difference and weight difference between these 2 guys is insane. Really, it shouldn't be allowed to have such a weight difference. I think it was something like 80 pounds difference between the 2, possibly more, I don't know. It was too much and it shouldn't really have been allowed, but it was heavyweight, and there you go, it was for the world title. Now, he beat Valuev on a decision, which was a complete surprise. Even when the fight was on, went to a decision, and like all these decisions against the Russians, you just think you're just not going to get the decision. Just not going to get the decision. But he got the decision. It was the right decision to give him the decision. Now, a lot of people think that he beat the Giant. He had been beaten before. Valuev had lost to Jaguev only a year or so before, and he'd also had a very, very close fight against a very old Holyfield, and many people thought Holyfield had won that fight. So you could say that he was on the way out, and after this fight, Valuev retired. So it's his last ever fight, but it was quite a good fight. It was quite a good fight, but it was summed up by a massive bomb right towards the end. Valuev wobbled, and everyone that was watching that fight believed that David Haye was going to be able to take out the Giant and stop him. It would have been brilliant. He just couldn't get enough flush shots in to just get the guy down and stop him. It's a shame, but he got the decision, and that was great. He became the world champion in the heavyweight division. Brilliant. And then he moved on to his first defence, and that was against John Ruiz. Again, another aging opponent. He came with a 44-8 record. He'd had some great fights in his career. He'd won the title. He'd fought Holyfield and beaten Holyfield. He fought against Roy Jones Jr. and a whole host of opponents. So he was a credible opponent. And it went a number of rounds before Ruiz corner threw in the towel. But it was a real good fight, and it's really worth watching. It was probably the fight where you realise that David Haye was a serious contender, a serious champion, a serious player in the heavyweight division, because John Ruiz wasn't going to roll over and die. He was going to leave his body on the line. He was a tough SOB. And it was a really good fight. Haye stopped him. He dropped him, in the first round. He dropped him again a few rounds later. But Haye took damage. He delivered damage as well. And it really was a good fight. Haye showed his fantastic footwork, blistering speed in punching, sticking out that jab, and in the end, the corner felt that Ruiz was going to be stopped. So Asal came in, and Haye gets to defend his title. So that was a good fight. It was one of his best fights at heavyweight, to be honest, probably his best. He then decided to fight Audley Harrison. Now, this was a bit of a mismatch. Somehow Audley Harrison got it off the back of beating Michael Sprott for the European title with a last second knockout. Pretty fantastic fight in itself, really. Harrison says that he damaged his shoulder, but he got dominated for the entire fight, and literally with seconds on the clock, he managed to stop Sprott with a fantastic left hand. But anyway, came into this fight again. Harrison has made excuses that he was injured, but he was like a rabbit caught in the headlights. He really did nothing, and in the end, he was stopped by David Haye very early on. Very pathetic, and particularly considering there was such a massive build-up to this fight. There was a talk of a lot of animosity between the two, and in the end, it was just rather pathetic. But anyway, after that, we saw the massive super fight, the Vladimir Klitschko super fight, the unification fight, David Haye, Vladimir Klitschko. And like all of these big fights, Mayweather, Pacquiao, etc., it didn't really live up to the hype. It wasn't a fantastically exciting fight. Vladimir managed to maintain the distance, keep Haye at bay, reduce his the effectivity of David Haye, and really didn't ship much damage himself, and managed to get the win by decision. Now, the big talking point of this fight was after the fight, Haye brought the excuses out immediately. Immediately, he pulled off his boot and said that his toe was broken, and that was the reason why he didn't win. Now, it probably stopped him from doing a lot, but to come out in the ring whilst your opponent is celebrating and come up with these excuses was pretty classless. And that's the lasting memory of that fight. Really, he should have just took it on the chin and said, yeah, I lost to the better man, and let's try and get a rematch and whatever. Came out with an excuse, he never got that rematch. And then sometime later, he ended up fighting Chisora. Now, he got the Chisora fight off of the back of Chisora's post-fight press conference after having lost to Vitali. I believe that David Haye was chasing Vitali, but there was a skirmish, a massive brawl in the press conference. David Haye smashed a bottle over Chisora's head, and there's this classic line where Chisora is screaming out, "I'm going to physically shoot David Haye." It's absolutely hilarious. You can find the footage online. But anyway, we never really knew whether that was put together, whether it was fake. It was pre-decided that these events were going to happen so they can build up a massive fight between Haye and Chisora. I believe the fight was live on Box Nation, so someone made a lot of money out of this fight. But to be honest, again, like the Ruiz fight, it was a really, really interesting, fun fight. Both fighters came to fight and they both put it on the line. It's a really interesting fight. It's a really fun fight. Check it out. Both fighters landed telling shots, but in the end, David Haye's speed and power was the difference, and he managed to stop Chisora and get another heavyweight victory. Now, we all know since then he's been very, very quiet. There was a lot of BS. He was trying to talk. He was trying to fight Tyson Fury a number of times 2 years ago. Pulled out of both fights. If my memory serves me correctly, there was a cut in the eye. There was a shoulder injury. There was all this that came out, and the fight never got made. Tyson Fury's career got put on the back burner slightly. I felt sorry for him. Ended up fighting a couple of bums, but in the end, he got his shot at Vladimir, and he won that title. So fair play to him. But David Haye, he went on I'm a Celebrity. He's been on every single TV show you can possibly think of. He's been signing photographs, taking photographs of people. He's been making so much money in the last couple of years without actually doing anything in the ring. But he's back this Saturday against Mark Demori. Again, it's going to be another devastating knockout. It's going to be a good one for his highlight reel. And then we'll see where he can go in the future. Will he be a top player in the heavyweight division? I think a great fight would be him against Wilder. I think that would be brilliant. That'd be one of the most exciting fights out there in the heavyweight division. But we'll see. We've got this fight. We've got Deontay Wilder fighting on the same night. Obviously, we've got Joshua. We've got Fury. We've got a lot of guys around the world in Europe that are going to be ready to be a potential opponent. There's also a potential rematch with Chisora, which, to be honest, I would actually quite like a Haye-Chisora rematch as well, rather than Chisora being fed to Anthony Joshua. I think it might be more interesting. Give him a go on David Haye. But anyway, so that's the recap of David Haye's career. Today, a little bit of discussion of what's going to happen next. But thanks for listening. Please subscribe. Check me out on Twitter. Say hello. Leave some comments below. Like this. If we can get as many likes as possible, that would be brilliant. This has been with just 15 defeats by Teekosey Boxing. See you next time, guys.